I remember when I was 19, I started going through my big self-love phase. I taught myself to love being on my own. I started my own projects, and I got a tattoo to commemorate this part of my life. For years, I thought this period of growth was the big lesson I had to learn. I thought, okay, I know what self-love is. I'm set for life. Nothing can ever bring me down again.
If you're looking ahead to the weekend for things to do for Mother's Day, there are different free events and some... Oh shit, let me do that again. Shoot. Hafa and Good Morning Guam, I'm PDN reporter Chloe Babauta, and there are plenty of events going on this weekend if you're looking ahead to do something special for your mothers for Mother's Day.
I'm Chloe Babauta, and I'm a PDN reporter by day and a blogger by night. But my passion project is doing I guess relationship or self-love type of advice, writing for my blog, Love Screwed, and I'm also working on writing a long-distance relationship self-help advice ebook. So before I started the blog, I was in a really toxic relationship. I think when we broke up, I had dated another guy and then I broke up with him. It was just kind of I was realizing that I really needed to take care of myself, because I think I was only 19 or 20 at the time, and I think at that point you don't really know who you are or what you want in life. I was going to school in Santa Barbara, California, so I would take myself to the beach and then I just read there. I would just take time to be okay with being alone, and it didn't have to be sad. So I would go take myself out on dates. So then around that time, that's when things started changing. And then I got this tattoo that I have now. In Greek, the word is sophrosyne. It means when you have a deep knowledge of your inner self, which results in true happiness. But then after that, so I started blogging and stuff, and then it was I was becoming a new person. I was becoming a new person through my writing. It's like that for anything that you want to be good at. You just have to make time to do it every day until you're good at it. My dad is a blogger for a living, Zen Habits. He'd be encouraging me to start my own blog, and all my siblings, but we all kind of have our own venues where we write or do creative things. So he was really encouraging when I said I wanted to start a blog, and he helped me figure out what to do with getting a domain or what platform I should use. I use WordPress. One of my favorite things to do is planning things on Google Docs. So I'll just brainstorm and then just write all my thoughts. So I would write all different ideas I had for blog posts. My dad and I had a deal where I think I had to write every day, but I didn't have to publish necessarily. So if I didn't write, then I wasn't allowed to watch TV. That was my punishment. And at the time, Breaking Bad was in the last season, and I was so obsessed, so I could not miss it. So yeah, that really kept me going through and held me accountable. So then I was posting a lot. I was writing blog posts more than I ever have in my whole life. I don't really write that much anymore. Even at the beginning of this year, I tried to be writing a lot just to get things out and have content. And I think the word creating content puts a strain on creators or artists, because it makes us feel we have to keep producing things that we might not necessarily have in us. So it's just it's such a big strain and a drain. So at the beginning of the year, I was okay, I'm gonna blog all the time, and I'm gonna blog this day, and all these posts are gonna come out on these dates. But then it doesn't actually work like that for me, at least. So for me now, it's kind of I'll be thinking about something that's going on with me for weeks, and then I'll just be letting it brew. I kind of think of it like taking a poop. You just are letting it brew for a while, let it brew for a few hours or however long you need to. And then once it's really ready, it'll just come out, and then it'll feel so satisfying. I wrote this post about having an eating disorder not recently, but a few months ago. And I'd been wanting to write about it for so long, and I just didn't really know how, but then I just kept thinking about it and what it meant to me, or how I was feeling about everything, until finally I was just okay. And then I just opened up a Google Doc, and then I just wrote the whole thing out in a few hours. So it's just it just comes when it's ready. Besides that, I think it's also a way for me to kind of document what I'm going through myself. I feel I'm growing and learning a lot of stuff, and it'll just help me in the future to look back and see what I went through. And yeah, sometimes I always think I'm writing for my younger self. So if I could go back in time and somebody could help me through my own problems, it would be me. Just with what I know now. So if anybody else could benefit from that, that'd be cool too. It's also just kind of a family thing. Growing up, my dad was always a writer. He was a reporter at PDN2, and then my grandma was a reporter and like an editor at PDN2, and then my great grandpa, like the reason why I'm alive is because he came to get a job at PDN from the States. So if it weren't for writing, then I wouldn't exist. The sailor sitting on the lattice stone. So it was a big deal because people had a lot to say about it, and generally people think it's disrespectful culturally. The editor's talking about the issue, and I was like, oh, I actually know who built it. Franceska and Taelyr are my friends, so it was easy to reach out to them. But generally, even if I weren't friends with them, I'd still talk to them because they were the ones who actually had the picture of because they made the lattice stone. On the other hand, that brings up an interesting perspective because like it's not so much about whether it's an ancient structure or not, it's just like the symbolism, because Taelyr said if you left it there, it could someday be an ancient lattice stone. They are pretty much in the middle of all that, especially on social media. They're also getting a lot of backlash for, I guess, the other side of it, where people are saying like, oh, you guys are being racist like towards this person. But in the article, I tried to make it show the bigger picture. That's always what the stories are about, like the bigger picture. It's not just like this one small thing that happened. It's like, why does this matter? And why does it matter to everybody as a community? There's all these different perspectives and everybody has something to say, but it's not just about this one person doing this thing that some people might consider offensive. It's like, what is the military's relationship with Guam and the people of Guam, and like, do they do enough to make sure that the people they bring in know about the culture, and like, do they respect it? It's like I had this empty feeling inside, even though like I knew I had so much good stuff going for me. So my therapist made me do a test, and it turned out that I had severe depression, which is weird because I mean, you met me like around that time, and it's like I didn't think I was severely depressed, but I guess I was. It's like you don't really put together all the different symptoms until it's like all on one sheet of paper, and you're like, okay, like these things all connect. I was also thinking like, oh, don't be so dramatic, like, you know, it's not that bad. But at the same time, like the question was pretty plain. It was like, do you overeat? Do you find like it's like you don't find pleasure in doing certain things anymore? I would ask like if it's like every day, a few days a week, or all the time, or like never. So I just like, for a lot of those things, it was like every day. I felt irritable. I was always like mad at people. It's kind of scary thinking like I can't remember like the last time I probably wasn't depressed, but you can still be depressed and like still do well in life. So just thinking about like why I say all these negative things to myself, it's the bad voice isn't some mean thing that came out of nowhere. It's actually a scared voice. It's like when it tells me I'm fat and stuff like that, it's not because like it's true or that being fat is bad. It's just like a survival mechanism. So then it helps me to understand that, because I'm like, I'm not gonna starve myself to look this certain way. So let's just eat something healthy and feel good about my body and like feel comfortable. So it's just like a way of owning it and like being conscious instead of just like letting like your fears like run your life. But I do feel a lot more healed inside. So I started going to, I'd known that I needed to go to therapy for a while, but I just didn't make it a priority. But then one of my close family members had started going to therapy. I think that's really where it starts, just hearing about somebody else doing it and knowing that like if they can do it, then I can do it too. So that's kind of what I want, or that's definitely what I want to do, or why I talk about it, because I feel like people don't talk about this enough.
This is Franceska, love of my life. And this is Chloe, best friend forever.
Yeah.
So it's been 5 years since we've done any projects. And since Chloe's moved home for the last year, we've been trying to like brainstorm what to do together, and our schedules never really met up until the end of the year after Lillies won the election. Then we kind of decided, she had this idea to print a shirt. And it wasn't really to start a brand.
Yeah.
It was just to put out this one shirt and just to see if anybody else wanted it, because we wanted it for ourselves.
Around the time when Lou won, we just kept saying like the future's Familao, and
Within a couple days, we got a few hundred orders. And from there, we pulled our money together, we made it happen.
yeah, and then like once we realized how much like we were gonna start making, we were thinking we should give back to the community, because like, you know, that's what this is all about. Like the female energy. We want to just like reciprocate it.
Yeah.
So we decided to give $1,000 to Island Girl Power, which we did today.
It's kind of spreading across everyone's consciousness, like the rise of Famalawan and this return to matriarchal roots. And so we just want to push this into something that can last a little bit longer than just a t-shirt. Magahaga Rising isn't just a brand. We want it to be like a physical space where we can a collective where we can come together and share ideas, share stories. And it's been nice to know that other people are feeling it too. That's what like the overall sentiment is for us. Be comfortable with failure. Failure is mandatory. Everybody who's good at what they're doing failed 1,000 times.
Okay, Chloe Babauta. Just I think over the past year has been a really big glow up time for me. I think a lot of the things that were holding me back were internal. I've always like been pretty like insecure. I think I'm good at hiding it maybe, but I have always felt like that and just always like comparing myself to other women, my body. I think that's like why I had an eating disorder. Like ever since we started this collective or just like this movement and stuff we're doing, I haven't been feeling so insecure about myself or thinking like what are other people doing? I'm thinking like what are they doing that we can all like do together?
I just moved over from the media over to Guampedia, and so I'm actually going to be moving off island, and I'll be still a consultant for Guampedia because we found that more than half our users are actually off island.
Yeah, it's been a new transition. I've never worked in nonprofit before, and going from media, it's a new thing. I'm not completely sure that it's the right thing for me to go to the States, but I also have just been like following my intuition a lot and my own internal compass, but I mean, I'm in love and it's just like, it's hard out here to be alone and just, I mean, I'm not alone, but it's just like hard out here without your life partner with you. So I just want to see this through and just like make sure that I gave it my best chance instead of just kind of letting it go just because I do enjoy being on Guam. But it definitely won't be, it's not goodbye forever, and I'm definitely going to try to come back like every year, especially if I work for Guampedia. It's how I'm keeping my connection to home.